morning here. I am Australian, so it's about 8 a.m. here, and I have done a few videos last week going live, and my husband dared me to speak on a controversial topic. So my background: when I finished school, I studied nutrition and dietetics, and so we studied and learned all the different diets, and also I studied health coaching quite a while. And so really, it's red. My son is in the background, and you're okay. Yeah, just go find a wipe, sweetheart. And so I've studied a lot of different diets and stuff, and when I was, you go finish your drawing, darling. And when I was 19, I may have been even earlier than that, I decided to try being a vegan, and I also went into being a raw vegan, and I got really sick, and my hormones and my period and everything just like they didn't work very well. I was in a lot of pain when I would get my period, and I would also I lost a lot of weight, and which a lot of people turn to vegetarianism and veganism for, to lose a lot of weight. And I also was really tired, and I just remember every day at 2 o'clock I would have to take a nap. I was studying at uni at the time, but I just remember being so tired, and no sleep at night could make me feel any better. And so yeah, I tried that for quite a long time, and since that time I've tried all sorts of different other ways and styles of eating. I went and studied with doctors in India and learnt lots about nutrition and health, and yeah, I've tried it all. And I think, food's very personal, how we eat, and I think different things can work for different people. I just know that there has been a huge movement and talking about going vegetarian, and I just, yeah, for me personally, it never worked, and being vegan, and I've seen some funny things on the internet about going vegetarian and vegan. And yeah, so I just, yeah, it never worked for me. And I don't think it supports women's hormones. Like in the long run, for me, it really messed with my hormones. And I've had 2 kids since, and I know that eating really high nutrition food and a lot of protein that doesn't come from plant sources really helped me and has given me really strong, healthy, happy babies. So yeah, the vegan thing just never worked for me. I also find that a lot of vegans, they look really, unhealthy in their face. I know for me, I looked a lot older when I tried vegan and raw vegan, and I was always really cold. And yeah, everything, like my nails grow and my hair grows and everything now from not doing that. It also took a lot of work. So I used to have a friend, and she her version of vegetarian was to go through the drive-through and get chips. So I'm sure there are people out there who can do it much more healthy. However, I've heard so many stories of people who have had to, they did vegan or vegetarianism for a really long time, and then they just had to come back to different ways of eating because it was not sustainable. I have a vegetarian in my family who is actually going through needing a lot of support in their physical body because it's not being able to maintain a lot of the like spine and bones and all of those things. And yeah, so I believe in a lot of like the type of blood that you have, and the blood, so my blood is very old blood, so I'm an O negative, which is very much it can't be supported by vegetarian. Our bodies need the meats and everything in order to actually produce a healthy body, whereas a lot of the new babies that come through have A blood type, which they say is much easier to be vegetarian. But I've raised both my boys being meat eaters, and that seems to really work for them. They're very smart. They walked very early, and for me, even having studied it all, I don't believe in the vegan movement. Even people who are popular celebrities online who look vegan, I just feel like there's something not happening in their face, like they age quite quickly. Some of them don't, and some of them do. Where are you from? I am from Australia. Beautiful land here. It is winter time, and it's a little bit cold. In the area of Australia I'm in, it's not super cold, but it is a little bit cold at the moment. And yeah, so for anyone who is vegan, I would never discriminate against you having been a vegan and a vegetarian. For me personally, it hasn't worked, and I'm turning 32 this year, and I don't think I'm aging as badly as I've seen out there from people. I also tried to reduce, increase my vegetable content and reduce my meat consumption a few years ago, and I felt really like tired and a little bit not crazy, but I just didn't feel very well. And I was talking to a friend who is a bioscientist, and she said that I had thrown out my copper and zinc ratio, and because in Australia, not in Australia, but in the world, a lot of dark-haired people are actually, they've got red eye, and yes, darling. Yeah. My son's in the background playing. He's reading a book about going on an airplane. Yeah, going on an airplane. And It's not broken, sweetheart. You just need to be gentle with it. Push it back in. Yeah, so I've got quite a lot of red pigment in my hair, which most people think my hair is like almost black. But I've got red pigment, so it means that I have I have to be careful with my zinc and copper ratio, and there's not a lot of zinc sources that are vegetarian and vegan. So yeah, my husband was like, oh, you know, there's all this like paying out on vegans online and stuff, and although I wouldn't pay out on them because I think everything is a life decision and choice, and everyone can, you know, do what they like. For me personally, having studied health a lot, I just, yeah, definitely did not work for me. And it can be a lot to do with just the food that people are eating too. Especially having kids, I can see that they do really well with having high protein foods as they're growing. They need it for their brains and development and all of that. And I also just, yeah, find that I'm aging gracefully because I'm getting all the nutrients that my body needs. So also for me, having done higher protein in the last few years, I lost a lot of weight in a healthy way. I lost like 17 kilos, which I think is about 30 pounds over the last couple of years. I have had kids in between then, so it does change a little bit, but I just found yeah, that's been really helpful and has helped me feel really good, as well as focusing primarily on yeah, on healthy proteins. And I personally don't eat a lot of carbohydrates, and I have had a lot of backlash from people saying that, you know, you need to eat carbs and you need to still have sugar sources and that sort of thing, but that doesn't really work for me. It makes me feel quite lethargic. Why are you throwing a sock at me, Goose? My son's trying to play as well. So yes, in the space of health, I've helped people. I worked in a clinic who wanted to lose weight. Goose. And so watching that and hearing a lot of people's stories, and yeah, I definitely think focusing on high nutrition food is very necessary for our bodies and for our health, and it's you're being silly. Yeah, so I just think it's very hard to concentrate when you're throwing socks at me. Yeah, so that's been my experience. I have tried every single way of eating under the sun, and I just at the moment definitely feel better on high protein and could not even fathom going back to eating like a vegan, or like I tried raw veganism and I just was always cold and very tired. And so I really think everyone needs to do their own research and try different things when it comes to eating, because just because something is really popular doesn't mean that it is right for you. Even probably the style of eating I do is not for everyone, but I keep things very simple so that I can see what makes me feel good and what doesn't. And yeah, I feel really good at the moment, and because I had a baby 11 months ago, I'm still working on my physical form, but I'm doing that mostly through food, and not pushing myself too much physically, because I already spend a lot of time chasing my little ones. And careful with that, sweetheart. And yeah, I actually had really easy pregnancies also, because I think that my body had everything it needed in order to have my beautiful babies. And I know a lot of people who are doing vegetarian and veganism can struggle a lot to get pregnant, and then potentially keeping babies. And I really think that's an indicator of what is and isn't working for your body. So I always recommend to mums to follow a lot of the traditional style of eating, and there's a lot of amazing books out there that can really help prepare your body for birth and pregnancy. So one of my beautiful clients, she's pregnant, and supporting her through that, and yeah, helping her make sure that her body has everything she needs to support her and her baby. And yeah, so that's a lot of, I don't specifically work with people and their nutrition now, but yeah, it's been, I think it's like the number one foundation of your life is your health. And I just see too many people struggling when they're not eating right. And so yeah, for me, I don't know if the vegan and vegetarianism is a big movement at the moment. I just know that my husband was like, oh, it's really controversial at the moment, you should speak about it. So it's like, challenge accepted. I'll speak about it, also because I've been one. And I just, yeah, it was very neurotic, I remember being, because my brain just wasn't getting what it needed, and it was I couldn't think very well, and I just think my emotions were everywhere as a woman. And so yeah, it didn't work for me. And it's interesting because there are a lot of countries and populations around the world that believe, that it does work. And, I'm all for people doing what they feel is right for them. And so, yeah, it's been my experience. And it's like anything, I drink coffee, and sometimes I choose to take a week off to try something different and see if it's having a negative effect. But yeah, I always coffee is fine for me. And yeah, I think I also find as a woman that having lots of proteins and also fats, for me, a lot of women are doing low fat, and that means that their hormones, they're not getting everything they need. So it can be a contribution to, also our brains are 80% fat. So I find that I need quite a lot of fat in my diet. It's really good for your hormones, and also, yeah, like I said, for your brain. And also, we have a lot of stress in our society. A lot of people are dealing with stress, and so making sure that you're getting the right nutrition can also help you combat stress. And so if my kids are having a time in their life where they're not feeling great, we look at their nutrition and their sleeping habits, and Also letting them kind of choose what they want to eat. What do you got? There's a sticker. Where did the sticker come from? Oh, it's his tail. Can you put his tail back on? Okay. I might have to use sticky tape, darling. So yeah, it's such a personal thing, I think, the way that we eat, but I see a lot of cultures traditionally, like before agriculture, a lot of them ate a lot of like fats and proteins. And I can't do it, put it on right now, darling. We'll have to get the sticky tape. So yeah, that's been my experience, and I do love looking to history for the way to move forward too, because I think a lot of things are being promoted to us that don't necessarily work. They're just trying to get us to buy them and consume things that are actually detrimental. And I actually remember one story about in Egypt where they used to feed the slaves a lot of carbohydrate because it meant that their brains wouldn't fully work properly, and therefore they wouldn't try and like rebel against the pharaohs. And so instead the pharaohs would eat like predominantly proteins and fats because they knew that that would really help their brains. And so that stories are always stuck with me as well. And what are you doing? And so like I said, it might not be for everyone, but I was, yeah. It was suggested that I come on here and share my experience and talk about something controversial. And yeah, having tried everything, this is where I am coming from now. I find also I had really severe acne when I was like 19 and 20, and the only thing that helped was coming off all gluten, all sugar. And even when I went to India for a month and they tried to feed me a lot of gluten and a lot of vegetables and a lot of vegetarian, I got really sick. And that may just be because of my blood type, and it's, you know, I don't eat that sort of food here in Australia, so my body wasn't adapted to it. I tried to eat that way for a long time because I was studying Indian medicine, but yeah, it didn't work with me. I follow more along with Chinese medicine, and in Chinese medicine they do recommend, I have a baby book about Chinese medicine, and they do recommend having meats and those sort of things to help the body to grow a baby. And so I think it's, yeah, very important to work out what works for your body, even if you grow up in a different culture. It's, yeah, very dependent on what feels good for you. And so for me, working with clients, I really recommend them to try a diet that's higher in protein, and that really helps to nourish their body and their baby. And yeah, so that's my experience. I haven't had any like lots of questions, so I would answer questions if I was having them about this, but otherwise it's just me sharing my experience. And yeah, and so I am new to the vegetarian and vegan. That's just, yeah, what's worked for me. And yeah, I feel really good in my body. So I think that's a good indication that I am doing the right thing for me. And I also know that for some people, they do have to trial a lot of different forms of eating. I'll take this out and then put this in, and I think the number one thing is that your brain is working. And I know for me that my face, it was really inflamed, and so it looked a lot bigger, but also I just looked a lot older. And now that my body is getting healthy, nourishing fats and proteins, it's not doing that. And so, yeah, that's my experience. And so I now have to go. My little baby is just woken up from his nap, so I need to go check on him. And so that is my share for the day. I am attempting to do one of these every day. I didn't do one on the weekend here, and he's not hurt. He's just waking up. And yeah, so you're okay, darling. Oh yeah, he had a sore on his hand. And so, yeah, I'll be sharing lots of different things, whatever comes to, yes, baby, comes up each day that I can share more about. Yes, darling. But I'm mostly talking about my experience of motherhood and being married, and about money. I love investing. So if you guys want to follow along, please feel free to subscribe. Otherwise, I'm going to leave this here. Thank you for joining me, anyone who did, and see you guys again soon. Bye.